Breaking news, we have a trade. We've been saying it will be the summer of trades around the NBA, and so far it is living up to the billing. This time, it's the Wizards and Pelicans getting in on the action and maybe a little bit of a head scratcher of a deal. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Hit that subscribe button right now. Way too many of you watching this are not actually subscribed. If that's you, fix it. Hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk from the Pelicans, plus a future second to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and the 40th pick in the draft. I guess.
I didn't actually know Bey was in the deal. I didn't see his name. Probably because I was driving.
He's in there. This is, I think, bottom line, this is the Pelicans getting younger, but the Wizards are clearing salaries faster. And I think in this deal, I want these salaries off my books as quickly as I can. And so that's what I like about this deal for the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing I got to say is my first assessment of the Wizards is that they've got this retirement home thing in the works. Right?
What is going on with that?
They keep on getting in on all these guys. I'm surprised they didn't trade for Drew Holiday. Actually, right? I don't want to say that. Drew, I expect to still be really good this year. But yeah, they've been getting all these guys, right? Like Chris, Smart. They've been, I don't know, but it's cool because they're able to get that flexibility, sooner than later because Smart comes off the books, Middleton comes off the books. Like they're positioning themselves for a pretty big offseason next year, right?
Yeah, the summer of 2026. So that's what this deal is all about from the Washington Wizards. You look at Jordan Poole's contract has 2 more years on it, whereas if we go take a look at CJ McCollum, he's an expiring contract. And so that's what this is about. It's not so much about getting CJ McCollum if you're the Washington Wizards, who do take on some money for this year in the deal, but it's about getting guys that expire in 2026. Same thing with Kelly Olynyk, $13.4 million. So that's about $44 million coming into Washington. And then they're giving
no one on the books really next year.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have a really clean cap sheet. You've got Jordan Poole now gone. You're going to have Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly, Saddiq Bey gone. Corey Kispert will still be there. Bub Carey. It's your young guys, and that's about it on the books here. So I like that element of this for Washington. Now, you do give up the younger players in Jordan Poole, and you give up a guy like Saddiq Bey, who's just 26 years old. And again, you are saving a little bit of money because you've got about or taking on a little bit of money from the Washington perspective because you're taking in about $44 million and only giving up, what is that, about $38 million that you're actually sending out. So you take on a little bit of money here if you're Washington. You hard cap yourself at the first apron. Not a big deal for them anyway. And it wouldn't shock me, Donnie, to see some of these guys move to teams that it could be midseason, but Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum, it's nice to have adults in the locker room. It's nice to have guys who can provide that kind of veteran stability and security and know-how and all of that. And Kelly Olynyk fits that mold too. But Donnie, I think that Washington, this is just the start. And these guys, these veterans that are on expiring contracts, I would be surprised if they all finish the season on the Wizards.
Yeah, there's no chance they're all on the roster to end the season. No. Even a guy like Corey Kispert, I like him, but I'd look at him as potentially somebody they may move on from too. And maybe they just go in a super duper youth movement. He's only 26, but so was Poole and Bey, right? So I would look at him as well. But yeah, I would, even a guy like Richaun Holmes, we haven't brought him up, but like all these guys are guys that could potentially be flipped, by the deadline. And if you're like a Middleton or if you're a Smart, if you could get out there, show that you've got it still, play some good ball, stay healthy, there's a really good chance that by the deadline, a team is calling for you. And so if you're Washington, you're really hoping that teams are calling for some of these guys. So you can ideally get back assets. Even maybe it's a team that just wants flexibility as well. Like, with a bigger salary off their books or something like that. Maybe the Wizards are willing to take back a little bit of something the following season that's not going to impact them too much at the expense of getting an asset. So.
And I'll say good on them for moving Jordan Poole, who for a little while there looked like he was going to be an untradeable contract, has 2 years remaining on his deal at about $65 million. But you look at what he put up last season, it was actually a really strong season for him, a nice bounce back, 21 points per game, 4.5 assists, shot 38% from three, 43% from the field, but took some really tough shots. So had a pretty nice season last year to Jordan Poole. And now you're able to flip him when a year ago, it looked like they were probably never going to get off of that contract. So that,
Sure.
I think that was a smart move there. And if you're the Pelicans, I like it less for the Pelicans, honestly, because I would have valued the future flexibility more. But clearly, what the Pelicans are going for is, hey, we get another younger guy, 26 years old in Saddiq Bey. But this is about getting Jordan Poole, a guy who's dynamic, certainly more dynamic right now than CJ McCollum, much, much younger. And then he can be part of our backcourt. I just question long term. I know DeJounte Murray is recovering, unfortunately, from the Achilles tear.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he comes back midseason. But let's say DeJounte Murray gets back to, fingers crossed, he gets back to being himself. Do you like a DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole backcourt? Because I'm pretty iffy on that.
In theory, I think you could like it, but you'd need a couple things. You need Murray to obviously go back to being himself. You need for Poole to continue being who he was last year and not the year prior, right? And then you need Murray specifically to really go back to like San Antonio Murray, because you need him to be your POA guy. You need him to be a defensive demon, right? He kind of came here and wasn't, or to Atlanta really, and hasn't been able to be that exact same guy. But I kind of like it in theory, but there's a lot of like, I don't know, ball usage there, but it's not all too different than it was if it was McCollum and in that spot as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But the difference is CJ McCollum, his contract expires. I mean, he hasn't fit, I think, for the last couple of seasons with the Pelicans. He's on an expiring contract, and now you're taking on money into that next 2026, 2027 season as well. Now you have some other guys on the books there. DeJounte Murray, you've got Herb Jones, and maybe Herb Jones is the piece that makes this work because he is such a dynamite defensive player. Trey Murphy is certainly an interesting wing too. You've stacked up a bunch of guys that are similar in age when you look at Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jordan Poole, Zion. You've got all these guys that are in their mid-20s, DeJounte Murray. And so it's an interesting collection of talent.
Well, they're just going for it, right? I think Poole is a we're going for it piece. That's what it is.
For sure. They're going for it. But what is the ceiling on going for? What does that look like? Is that just make the playoffs? And maybe that's good enough because that's what I project as the ceiling for this group right now, barring some other moves. They're already rumored to be out there looking for a big. Maybe they'll pick one up in the draft. I believe they have the 7th pick in this year's draft. So, and they have 23 as well. So they could land a big in the draft, but I just don't see the overall ceiling for this team. But again, there may be more moves coming here for New Orleans.
Yeah, the ceiling hinges on Zion. That's what it is. Because if you told me you had and this is the theoretical Zion for forever, but if you had a healthy Zion, and we look at his games played, all that stuff, this should be an up year for Zion. He should be healthy this year based on like the fact he always goes healthy, not healthy, healthy, not healthy. So if you're betting on him, I think that's a possibility. You've also got, Murray potentially coming back, but there's a lot of question marks here. Maybe Trey Murphy takes another step forward. And like, if you tell me you had those guys, Jones, Missy with another year in there, some of the other guys that they've got, you're adding Poole. I think they could be a really feisty, mid-20s younger team. And
way better
the problem
than
is that
last
they're
season.
Exactly. Well, the floor.
That's
pretty low.
It's a low bar, right? Low bar. But that was injuries, right?
They were hurt, right? But the problem is that they're in the West, and it's just so competitive. But if they are a mid-40s win team, make the play-in, low tier playoff team, they could be a tough out if they make it in.
Are the Pels better? Just if everyone's healthy, are they a better team now after doing the trade, or were they better before the trade if everyone on the roster is healthy?
I'd say better now.
Yeah, I think I'm there too. I agree. I think Jordan Poole has been good enough to make me say, okay, I'll give Jordan Poole an edge over an aging CJ McCollum, what you can get out of Saddiq Bey. But the fact that it's even a question, like they have to be better now based on the fact that they're taking on the longer term money. And in the Western Conference, you're right, teams are going for it. If the Pelicans are indeed better, the Blazers, I think, got better. I hate the move for them, the Drew Holiday move, but I do think it made them better. The Houston Rockets got better with Kevin Durant. The Western Conference is going to be insane. Donnie, we are legitimately talking 14 teams at least, and we'll see what Utah does, that are going to be pushing for the playoffs, that are at least are going to come into the season with the goal of making the playoffs. And Utah might try to get into that mix too. God, the West is going to be an absolute battle this season.
Sounds like Portland is in that mix as well. Like it's going to be
100%.
really tough. But I think Poole is the swing factor here for them because when you dig into it, I mean he's bringing a level of shot making to this team that they just didn't have. I mean, he's taking 9 threes a game. A lot of those are extremely tough, and he shot 38% on those. He only played 29 minutes and put up 20 points per game, on 43% field goal, 38% there, 88 free throw.
Right.
So I'm sure he's got a pretty high true shooting and all that stuff if you care more about that. But, he's bringing a level of playmaking to this team that, the statistics look similar to CJ, but just the way that they go about it, I think, he's going to bring a dynamic to this team that they didn't have based on the way that he likes to score. And I think that's going to open the floor out a lot for a guy like Zion to get to the rim more and be better and more effective downhill, which he didn't need any help at all doing.
No.
But,
I mean, hey, the more you can open up the lane for Zion, the more he is just going to crush. So I agree.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, that's all it comes down to, right? The Pelican season. Can Zion stay healthy or not? That's the most important thing for the Pels. But all this other stuff in the margin certainly matters. Can Trey Murphy take another step? What does Jordan Poole look like? Can he fit in there? But I get the move from the Pels standpoint. But again, I think overall, if I had to grade out the deal, I like this better for the Wizards simply because they get the expiring money sooner. Yeah. Are you there with me, Donnie, or do you think the Pelicans win this trade?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. But that's also just a little bit of bias because I think we both think the Pelicans probably should just be trying to retool or rebuild anyway, right?
I think retool is the right word. I think the Pelicans should be adding pieces. I think the Pelicans are better than they were last season. I just don't know that this changes them enough. And maybe there's more coming. So maybe I do want to reserve that. But I don't know that this changes them enough.
These guys are 24, 25, 26. There's going to be some internal growth. You're going to, by extension, by being healthier, you're going to be better just with that, right? So but I think it's important also to recognize that not every team is trying to go championship. Like I don't think they have title aspirations right now. Like they're in the development, in the transitionary period. And so for them, simply making the playoffs or being a 5-6 seed is probably a really, really good season. So
yeah, if they just say, hey, we want to be in the mix next season, if that's the goal for now, okay. All right. I could see them certainly accomplishing that. But again, everyone in the West right now is saying that we want to be in the mix. We want to be fighting for it. And I hope the Pelicans can stay healthy this year. But Washington makes the move. They're a team to watch next summer now with tons of flexibility. And I do think these veterans they've got are probably going to get flipped, at least a few of them. Marcus Smart, a guy the teams will be interested in. Maybe Chris Middleton, of course, CJ McCollum. These are players the teams will be calling them about. So I don't think Washington is done here. Washington may hold them until the trade deadline, but they've got more moves to make. And the Pelicans, it could be an interesting draft night. One of the teams heavily rumored to be trying to move up in the draft by stacking a couple of picks together. So we'll see what they can do there. But everybody, make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications. We'll keep you up to date on everything going on around the NBA in a very, very busy off season. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.